This is not the first time, and it may not be the last, that senior officials in Europe have warned about this terrifying scenario. A scenario of a major war about to break out between Russia and NATO. Today, all international reports are discussing the imminent outbreak of this military conflict, so much so that it's now almost assumed. So the only thing that still seems unclear is what? And when will this war take place? Today, President Macron came out with a historic deal with Ukraine, a deal that might confirm that this war has truly become imminent. Moreover, the defense minister in Germany made a statement saying that the latest estimates today indicate that we might witness that next summer will be the last summer in which Europe lives in peace. Russia said that not a single Russian supports the scenario of war with NATO, but it also said that if this war starts, there will be a decisive response. In Poland, there was an explosion that hit a railway leading to Ukraine. Today, the Polish are accusing Russia. Today, we see a Turkish cargo ship that was hit by an airstrike, and we see in Britain, today they acknowledge NATO is at war against the Russians, and that this war could escalate into a nuclear war. At the same time, we see that the great powers, America, Russia, and China, have begun the struggle of the third nuclear age. So the important thing is, all the events and all the indicators confirm that we are truly entering a point of no return. What exactly is happening? Here's what we'll reveal today. Stay tuned. Dear viewers, peace be upon you and God's mercy and blessings, and welcome to today's renewed meeting, God willing, from the series of opinion episodes. To begin, our topic today starts from this historic deal that was signed by French President Macron and Ukrainian President Zelensky. A deal through which Ukraine will be supplied with 100 French-made Rafale F-4 fighter jets, in addition to a number of surface-to-air missile platform Swati air defense systems, and then air-to-air missiles. In addition to all these, the agreement talks about launching joint projects for the production and manufacturing of drones. So here, everyone should pay attention to the fact that at a time when these Russian attacks on Ukraine are intensifying, and at a time when Russian forces are advancing, very significant field victories are taking place. At a time when a large number of air defense systems in Ukraine have been destroyed after just 1 week. After receiving these systems comes this visit by the Ukrainian president to France. So, this might make everyone wonder, it's a bit strange, but what's even stranger than all of this is what? It's that this deal, or this agreement that Zelensky brought from France, is somewhat strange, because when we look at this news on the surface, we find that Zelensky scored a very strong deal. We're talking about Rafale F-4 aircraft, which means the latest version of these French planes. They're very advanced aircraft with cutting-edge technologies and radars. Modern. So some people will ask, how is that possible? For France to put the pride of its military industry to this test against the Russians, to be exposed to infiltration, to be vulnerable to being controlled by Russia? I mean, how could it not deploy its latest military technologies? Vulnerable to being tested by the Russians? Is that possible? So the recent development here in this agreement about delivering Rafale jets was supposed to happen by the year 2035, which means 10 years from now. So this raises a lot of questions today. What is the secret behind this deal? What exactly is Macron's goal with this deal? Why is Zelensky making this deal? And frankly, if he needs it, he needs weapons today. He needs them now, not later. 10 years. Just a few days ago, there was a French promise to deliver Mirage jets. old, worn-out planes that are outdated. We talked about them in previous episodes. Today, we're talking about advanced jets, but they will be delivered in 2035, 10 years from today. So here, everyone should pay attention to the fact that the division of the Ukraine pie has already begun, before the complete collapse of this country, before the start of the major war. Because the first thing everyone should know is that this agreement is not a final agreement. It's only a declaration of intent. This is not an immediate request to purchase these aircraft. It's just a declaration of intent. France is sending a message that it stands with Ukraine politically, but in practice it will see how things go. Will Ukraine collapse? Will a major war break out or what? To be completely honest, this is just an agreement that guarantees France control over part of the frozen Russian assets inside the European Union. The only beneficiary of this deal is France. Why? Because it boosts its military industries, promotes them as globally in demand, highlights their international sales and involvement in conflicts and wars. Even the way the agreement was signed was in the American style. It took place at a military airport, and in the background behind Macron and Zelensky there were parked planes, French planes and missiles, drones and so on. France is trying to showcase, to display some of its military technologies and so on, and it also wants to appear as the military leader of Europe. And at the same time, it wants to ensure that it gets a share of this pie that is being talked about today, which is the frozen Russian assets. The Europeans today have intentions to divide this pie among themselves. There are more than 200 billion euros frozen within the European Union. They now want to seize Russian funds under the pretext that they will be used to support Ukraine militarily. So now France is trying to secure a share of this pie in case these Russian funds are actually used, and that's why they made this agreement. France knows very well that Ukraine will collapse soon. It won't hold out long enough to receive Rafale jets in 2035 or even by 2030 at all. The Rafale funds will go to France, maybe within weeks or months from now, but after that, Ukraine will collapse. There won't be any real impact from this deal, and the money will stay with France. France knows very well that the big war is approaching. France itself will need this number of jets. It can't sell this many to other countries. Today, Europeans want more. Weapons. Today, the German defense minister named Boris Pistorius made a very serious statement. He said that the war against the Russians will be closer than we imagine. He said that Germany has always said that this war would be the year 2029. He said there are others who say it will be the year 2028, he also said. While there are also those who say today that this coming summer, will be the last summer Europe lives in peace, meaning right after that, the spark of the Great War will begin. A very serious statement comes from a German military official. The spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, responded to these German statements, saying that these statements exactly reflect the position of the other side. The aggressor is here as well. The spokesperson for the Russian Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov, said that there is no one in Russia today who supports a war against NATO. But if this war starts, there will be a decisive response. There will be measures to ensure Russian security and interests. There was also a statement today from the European Union's Defense Commissioner. This statement was made on the sidelines of an international conference that is being held today and tomorrow, and this conference is about defense in your country. So what did he say also? He said that Russia will test NATO in the next 2 years. He said that Russia will attack one of your countries. And he said that these warnings came from all the intelligence agencies in Europe, from the German intelligence, from the Dutch, Finnish and Danish intelligence, and others. They all confirmed that Russia will attack one of the countries. Your country soon? And he said that we should take advantage of this war in Ukraine, and we should prepare for this war, for this test, and so on. The thing that caught my attention the most in the speech of the European Union's Defense Affairs Commissioner was that he admitted that the Russian army has become stronger after fighting this war. In Ukraine, this army was not exhausted as planned. Instead, today it has become strong and possesses field experience. Today, it has greatly developed its capabilities. For example, regarding drone weaponry, regarding hypersonic missile weaponry, and so on, electronic and cyber warfare, and so on. Russia entered a war from which it benefited greatly. While the Europeans have made no progress at all in such weapons or any experience, especially when we talk about drone weaponry, which today has become the weapon of the era. So Europe is truly still militarily behind. This is a fact that everyone should pay attention to. There is a statement by the head of the Defense Committee in the Russian Parliament, and he also said something very important. He said the Europeans know they'll lose. This war in Ukraine, he said, that's why they are creating another threat, that Russia will attack one of the NATO countries. And this is only to justify, the money that Europe lost in supporting Ukraine, which is, of course, taxpayers' money. And this is really true, but it's not the only reason. They are now actually creating these scenarios to justify the money that was lost in this war. And they are making it up to distract the European people from these internal problems they are experiencing. Most European countries, like France, Germany, and Britain, they are also making this up to cover up the corruption scandals that have recently erupted in Ukraine. This is a fact, but they are also creating these scenarios because there are other parties in Europe that actually want to reach these scenarios, that really want to provoke a major war in Europe. There was also a very important statement today by the former head of the British Navy, who said that NATO is indeed today in... He said that the major war is now raging, but this war could develop into a nuclear war. That is the difference. The war is now raging between Russia and NATO, but on Ukrainian territory. But this war could spread to other countries, and it could also develop into a nuclear war. Yesterday in Poland, there was an explosion on a railway network. A railway line connecting Poland to Ukraine was bombed, and this line is used to send supplies and military aid to Ukraine. So today, what are they saying? In Poland, they say that Russia is behind it. This explosion. Also today, a Turkish cargo ship that was near the Ukrainian city of Odessa was attacked by an unknown source, which caused the ship to catch fire. So are these events or incidents that could be used as a pretext to start this major war against the Russians? But the strange thing is Europe really ready for this war? Is it capable of facing the Russians without America's intervention? Without America? We've all been talking, in the past few days, we've all been talking about drones breaching Polish airspace. We've all been talking about unidentified drones entering Belgian airports and European airports and so on. Today, we've started talking about explosions. Notice carefully, things have escalated. We might be entering an undeclared war of attrition. We might be entering a stage of serious provocations that can't be taken back. It could lead to a war that expands the scope of the conflict or even a major war, so the situation is very dangerous. And that's not to mention that today an arms race has begun. A new nuclear arms race began before Trump officially announced it in his speech. So today we are living in the third nuclear age, meaning these three great powers, Russia, America, and China, have now entered a stage of nuclear competition, a nuclear arms race. All of them have started planning to conduct new nuclear tests, and they are also planning to deploy nuclear weapons in various other countries. This means that some are planning for these weapons to be directed against the Russians, others are planning for them to be directed against America, and so on, meaning they are placed in areas close to them. So in short, all the events the world is witnessing today are very similar to the events that preceded the World Wars, the First and Second World Wars. And this gives us the impression that we are indeed getting closer than ever before to this war. Now the question remains, when will this war start? When is the date of this war, of course? And what will the real shield be like? Answer us in the comments below this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button.